To Jacksonville State, yeah.
What made you try to make that move?
So I'll have to explain the PWO deal primarily for that to make sense. So with the PWO deal, preferred walk-on deal, I take a trip down to Boca Raton in like February or March, and they tell us straight up, we've already signed our recruits coming in for your training, for your class, but the deal we'll give you is if you can get accepted to the university and you become a 1 or a 2, we'll put you on full scholarship. You can earn your scholarship just like that. So I was like, all right, I like those odds. Coming in my freshman year, I was like 4th or 5th string, everybody will be. And I redshirted my whole year. So I went into the deal knowing I would have to pay for school my whole first year. And I was prepared to do that. It wasn't really a problem. Just a little budgeting. And I told you about my pops. He was able to help me out a little bit. And I value that. Everybody don't really have a 2,000-3,000 laying around that they can just send off. So they did that. Going into my redshirt freshman year, I was 4th or 5th on the depth chart once again, but I started on field goal block. I was the number 1 on field. I was on the hands team, 2 trash special teams. Those not even real good jobs. So I had the block the extra point against North Texas. I cribbed that. After I cribbed that, I was like swarmed by reporters. Like, who was number 6? Where do you come from? Tell us about yourself. So that was really like my who was number 6 moment. Like, who was this kid with number 6 moment? So people know who I am. As DT, they call me Lil DT. DT from Duval. He this and that. He good at coverage. And my coach at the time, Coach Hoser, he never wanted me to get on the field until he felt like I was aggressive enough. Like, we didn't do cover corners. You got guys, he's skilled in coverage. We ain't play that at FAU. If you ain't want to tackle, if you ain't want to hit, there was no place for you in this locker room. We'll get you, we'll release you, you can go wherever you want to go, but until you're ready to hit, you do that. So my redshirt freshman year, I'm a 2. So I meet the requirements. We had freshman All-American, and we had a real seasoned veteran at cornerback, and we had another cornerback who was actually better than me, but he was injured. He was ineligible. And there was another one named Tavoris, and it was me. So I was 4 on the depth chart, so I was a 2. Coming into my redshirt sophomore year, I was the starting nickelback. I was on all the special teams. So in my mind, I met y'all requirements. All right, when I came to y'all 3 years ago, y'all said if you're a 1 or a 2, we'll put you on full scholarship. So at the end of that season, my last year, we missed a bowl game by 1 game. We lost to, I want to say it was Arkansas State, because we still beat FIU, but it didn't give us bowl game contention. That made us 5-7. They fired the defensive coordinator. They fired the weight coach. And our head coach, Coach Snellenberger, rest in peace, that's my boy, he was pretty much about to retire at the time. So I kind of seen the writing on the wall. The program was about to make a transition. New coaches bring in new guys. So if they brought in a new defensive back coach. So I started to prepare myself for my time might be up here at FAU. And I remember the day when I just decided to walk away from it. It wasn't real like personal or nothing. I just seen like they have no desire to honor their word. And then with this coach gone, they really won't have to. So while I got 2 years left, so you got the transfer portal nowadays. All right, if we had the transfer portal, I would have been in better shape, because what the portal allows you to do is enter your name in to get re-recruited, and you can go anywhere. At the time, you either had to graduate first to go to a Division I university, or you had to transfer down divisions. You could go FCS or Division II or Division III or NAIA. So I got my release. I went to Coach Snellenberger and was like, are y'all gonna put me on scholarship? And he was explaining to me, in this process right now, we're building the stadium. We got a lot of transition going on. I don't really see that happening for you, and it's out of my hands. So I told him, thank you for the opportunity. If you don't mind, I'll still work out here sometimes so I can stay in shape. And he didn't mind that. So he gave me my release. I don't know how the release works with the transfer portal now, but with my release, when I found out FAU was done, my mind was set. I was going to FAMU, period. Like, I know I can get into the school. I know I can compete there. I know I can afford to pay for it, even if they decide not to put me on scholarship. And I can play baseball there, because a lot of black colleges, they'll let you double up. So even if I got to get some partial money from football and baseball, I'd be good. When he released me, he said, you can't go anywhere in the state of Florida or anywhere in the Sun Belt Conference. So, now I'm like, yeah, they can do that. That's a question that had to come up, but that was the way he can do it. He gave my release. So I took the release, I read it. I cried inside. I ain't want my pride to just give up like that. because I felt like my plan is forward. Like this what I had in mind. Going into my walk-on deal, the reason why I walked on at a Division I school instead of going straight to FAMU or Bethune-Cookman, because I was prepared that if something goes wrong, I can still transfer down and not have to sit out a year. And that came to work out. So yeah, at the time, it wasn't nothing bad. I didn't do anything to get dismissed from the program. I wasn't on the bench. You know, I was actually projected to be the starting cornerback. Give or take, the guys I was competing with, both of them was a year older than me. One of them, he had better ball skills than me, and one of them was a little more physical than I was. But it was just going to be graded on what the coach felt like was best, you know, out of the three players. Like, all of us was really dogs like that. All of us was about the same size, everything. And we'd have had to compete. It'd have been a dog fight. I left FAU. They won 2 games in 2 years after I left. So that was just a testament as to what was going on with the program. So, you know, the shining light was they got the stadium built. We built the stadium. Alfred pretty much broke everybody's record, still got drafted, and just made a name for FAU on the national level. So that was cool. Then I came home. So when I came home, once I decided I was going to transfer, a lot of players make this mistake. They stopped taking care of their grades. It's like, oh, I already know I'm leaving here, so, you know, I don't care about work. I'm going to skip class. Whenever you transfer, you lose credits. So whenever I left FAU, I had 88 credits. I was 22 credits away from graduation. So I either could have set out football and graduated and went to Division I school, or I could have left right then and there and transferred down. When I showed up to Jacksonville State, I was at Trinity High School working out. And, well, this is another time a coach contacted me. The coach came to Trinity looking for an experienced cornerback. He didn't want to recruit a high school player, and he had a good relationship with some of the guys, the Pro Impact guys. Shout out to the Pro Impact guys. You know, I did some good training with those guys, and I appreciate that because I didn't even go to their school. These guys coached at Trinity. I never went to Trinity, and they still saw it enough in me to help me out. So the coach's name was Ronnie Letson. He showed up. He was like, yeah, I'm looking for an experienced DB. He was like, I got one right there. So he watched me go through a couple of drills, and the coach asked me, he was like, you know, can you give me some film? Can you put some film up for me? And I was like, yeah, I can give you some film. All right, now let me tell y'all the trick about this NCAA and your name and image and likeness and how you don't own it. So before I left FAU, so this moment I'm telling you about happened the weekend before Memorial Day. I'll take you back to March of 2010 when I told Snelly I was leaving. I went to my film guy. The film and media crew was always my best friend. Always. Like, you want to be tight with the film crew so you can hit them up. We call them Cooch. I say, Cooch, send me a 3rd and 10 breakdown on Texas. You know, hey, Cooch, you know, can you make me a small highlight tape? Can you do that? I want to send something to my mom. Hey, Cooch, how about you put this Lil Wayne song on the highlight tape? That was my boy. So I thought. So once I decided I was leaving, I went to Cooch. I was like, hey, Cooch, can you give me some of my game film? And he was like, no. And I was like, you know, why not? He was like, you know, you don't own it. It's not yours. Like, I can't give you this film unless Coach Snellenberger approves of it or something along those lines. So at the time, I was scared to go talk to Snelly because he already done, you know, for one of my plans. He already said I can't go nowhere in Florida. So I'm walking out and I see a stack of DVDs and I just grabbed a stack of DVDs. You know, I don't know what it is. Just grab a stack of DVDs. Brought it home with me. So when I get home, Letson asked me, like, can you get some film? And I'm like, yeah, I think I got some film. I got some. So I go through this stack of film thinking I'll find like some practice cut-ups and nothing. I found 2 DVDs, Nebraska, Louisiana Monroe, North Texas, what other team was on that? South Carolina and something else. So I gave the film to Gerard Ross. Gerard Ross made a highlight tape. I only had like 8 plays on those games. So he replayed those 8 plays like 2 or 3 times to loop it to give me 2 minutes worth of film. We posted on YouTube, and what they like to see was how I come up and tackle. So when y'all see this highlight tape, you'll see it's all tackles and maybe 1 pass breakup. I got 1 interception too. I sent that too. So they want to see a defensive back who was experienced in the game. They didn't want to bring anybody in to develop them. They needed somebody to get ready to play right now. We was opening the season against Ole Miss. We beat Ole Miss too. We was getting ready to open the season against Ole Miss. And the game plan was to have 4 DBs to play man coverage across the board, and we're going to blitz them. Like, we're not going to let this SEC quarterback sit back there and pick us apart. They had Jeremiah Masoli at the time. So after I got that done, I was on South Beach in Miami, actually, and Coach Letson called me and said, hey, we like your film. You qualify. School starts Tuesday. I said, okay, I'll see you Monday. So on South Beach, I packed up my charger, Went home, came home, packed up my stuff, drove to Jacksonville State. It was a warm welcome because what I learned about Jacksonville State at the time is they kind of made a lane for a lot of guys like me who went Division I and something happened. Like you had this plan to play at Ole Miss. We had a linebacker from Ole Miss, a quarterback from Alabama, a running back from Georgia, some junior college transfers, and we had a host of players who I have no idea why they were FCS recruits for whatever reason. They from smaller towns in Georgia, Alabama. We had quite a few people. Both of the cornerbacks I played with went to the league, TJ Heath and AJ Davis. And it was like a SEC roster playing the FCS. So it was a second chance for a lot of people. And Coach Crow made sure we valued that second chance, like understand wherever you messed up at, whether you fell off academically. Some people may get into some trouble, a failed drug test or fall off somewhere academically. A lot of FCS schools understand what happens. And a lot of them, they didn't get in no trouble. They was just 4th or 5th on the depth chart because the SEC schools are so loaded with talent that you may or may not really get a chance to play. So in that aspect of transferring, it's necessary. So it may, you might look at some guys and be like, oh, you transferred because you couldn't get in because you was weak. I'm like, that clock is ticking. You got 4 years. So if you can't get in, there's no sense to let your pride get in the way. Go somewhere where you get an opportunity to do something. And I got to Jacksonville State. When I got there, so the guys who play for Jacksonville State, they never want to let the transfers feel like you just going to get shit given to you because you came from playing for Nick Saban. All right, we're going to go at you extra hard. You're going to run extra sprints. So whenever I'm on the field in 7-on-7, the ball coming at me. Like, we finna make you show us that you really can play. We don't care nothing about, because, it's a habit. Like, people come in, and then they all have their rings, they bowl game rings, where they came from. And you got these FCS guys, and they like, I don't really appreciate that. I feel like these teams kind of sprayed on me. Like, they ain't want me. They overlooked me. And you think you just going to walk in here and just take my spot because of what you did there? I'm going to show you otherwise. So them boys was dogs like that. Them boys, like my very first day, we had to run 5100s. The 2 DBs, both of them that went to the league, I didn't beat either one of them on any rep, and they was not finna let me. So we challenging each other. I'm trying to out sprint them. And they're like, nah, we're gonna let you know you're gonna grind over here. Like, this how we get our stuff out the mud over here, because we don't have multi-million-dollar weight rooms. We're not getting waves of recruits coming in. Like, it ain't like that. Like, we really grind and get out. So, that's how that came about. And Jacksonville State put me on for a scholarship. So I got what I came for. So the reason I left FAU in a condensed form is they didn't honor their word to put me on scholarship. All right. So once I had the film, once I played against Texas, all those guys, I was like, I know I'm good enough to play now. So, but before I didn't really know. Like, I had doubts. Is 150 pounds going to be good enough? Can I run a 4.4 and a 40? If you throw a 6'5" guy fade, like, will I be able to defend it? I had proven that to myself at that point. So I knew I could earn me some money. So they saved me about $60,000 in the long run by paying for my last few years of college.